अन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वरूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नाम्ने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरकृषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्तो नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमोस्तुते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्रे येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपरिजाताय स्तोत्रवैत्रैकपाणे ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। Studying Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme. And before we start, studying from verse number 14, let's do a quick revision of what we discussed in the previous class. From chapter 8, verse number 1 to verse number 13. So, what do you remember from those verses about this chapter? You remember something, then you please share. Hmm.
Can I say it, Prabhuji?
Yes, Chanakya Prabhu.
Yeah, so Arjuna had 8 questions that he asked, and the first 7 questions were answered in the third and fourth shlokas. And the most important thing about what will one get, what should one do while leaving the body, right? That one is the rest of the chapter, rest of
Hmm.
the from chapter 6 to I think 30 plus.
Yep. Okay.
That's what
Fine.
is going to be covered
8 questions
next.
asked, and the last question is most important. How to remember Krishna at the time of death? And Krishna answers that in 24 verses from verse number 5 to verse number 24. Correct? Hmm. So, what happens to someone who remembers Krishna at the time of death?
He attains the Krishna bhav.
He attains Krishna's bhavam, mad bhavam, Krishna says. So, what that bhav
Actually,
is, what are the qualities of
mm,
someone wants to try? Yeah. What are those
Sweetheart,
Ageless,
qualities in mad
ageless,
bhava? Yeah, ageless, sinless,
deathless, without
deathless,
grief, without hunger, without thirst.
without grief,
correct.
without hunger, without thirst, blissful, and
And
desires
Ageless.
yeah, all
instantly
his
fulfilled.
desires are instantly fulfilled. So that's a very interesting quality, isn't it? All your desires get instantly fulfilled.
Satchidananda.
Sachidananda. Very good. Next, then he talks about Yoga Mishra Bhakti. So qualities of Paramatma are mentioned. How many qualities? 9 qualities. So why I'm talking these things? Because I want you all as students of Bhakti-sastri, Bhagavad-Gita, know these things in your head always. Let's say someone asks you, where in Bhagavad-Gita the qualities of Paramatma are mentioned? Where? So you should know it here. Okay, Bhagavad Gita verse 8.9. It is there like that, 8.9. Verse 8.9. And how many qualities are there? 9 qualities are there. Kavim Puranam Anushashitaram, that verse. So this is very important because one thing is there, you see, uh, um, how many of you want to study Prabhupada books lifelong? Or this is your first and last attempt to study his books written by Srila Prabhupada? You know, first and last. I'm done with Bhakti Shastri, then I'll take sannyas from studies, you know. So how many of you want to study lifelong? Like, okay, we want to put those efforts. We all want to study, right? So studying is not done, I mean, in a whimsical manner. Studying is a process. And if you study Gita nicely, then you will understand Bhagavatam nicely. If you study Bhagavatam nicely, then you'll understand Chaitanya Charitamrita nicely. Otherwise, you'll not understand, honestly speaking. So, in Bhakti Shastri, there are two things. One is Bhakti Shastri is a course which has been designed by some devotees in iskcon based on, you know, their experience and you can say some guidelines of Srila Prabhupada. But in my experience of studying Bhakti Shastri and also teaching Bhakti Shastri, I can tell you for sure there is no guarantee, even if you pass Bhakti Shastri with 95%, that you actually understand Bhagavad Gita. There is no guarantee if you understand Sri Upanishad or Updeshamrit or Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Because though I don't believe with it, but still that's a part of the process we follow. I myself don't believe in the examination system that all of us have to go through as Bhakti Shastri students. You know, because that examination system is not perfect examination system. How is it not perfect? I have already given you the questions. You have a lot of time to find the answers. And then I'm going to ask you some questions from those questions. And then if you have good memory power and you are a little smart and you can do things, you can easily score 80, 90%. What's the big deal? It's not a big deal, right? It's not a big deal. So if you do that, it's it's not that we should not do it. We should do it because we have to use our intelligence, we have to put efforts and all that is required. But that is not the ultimate goal of Bhakti Shastri, isn't it? Bhakti Shastri basically means that, okay, whatever we study, everything should be here and here, in the head and in the heart. That is Bhakti-sastri. Then only it will come helpful to you in your personal life. Otherwise, it will not come helpful to you in your personal life. Right? And then we go to Bhakti Vaibhav, then you will relish Srimad Bhagavatam a lot if you have studied like this. Therefore, there are certain things in Bhagavad Gita which you should always remember. There are many things which you can forget, and there's no problem if you forget it. But there are many things which you should remember, which are basically the concepts, very, very important. Then later on, when you study Prabhupada books, you will understand, not only understand, you will relish them. That will happen. Otherwise, it will not happen. Therefore, you should remember. So, Paramatma's qualities are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse number 9. Okay. Like that, Atma's qualities are also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, but that will come in chapter 12. So, there are such things which we should remember, note down and remember. Fine. Okay. So, I was thinking of next year starting a course on Bhagavad Gita where we will do only one verse in one class. 700 classes. One verse, one class. Properly understanding each Sanskrit word of Bhagavad Gita. Technically, each Sanskrit word and how exactly the whole message of entire Vedas is contained in the Bhagavad Gita. So that if you do it, then you are thorough with Bhagavad Gita. Every single thing in Bhagavad Gita. Studying from different commentaries of acharyas and all that. But let's see. It's a plan. Whether it will be successful or not, I don't know. But we'll try because 700 classes, that's a big task. But we'll try. So then you,
Fees?
because I can't do that for Bhagavatam. At least I can try for Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavatam has 18,000 verses. Very difficult job. But we can try for Bhagavad Gita so that we look at every single verse and try to very nicely understand every single thing which is being explained there. Do you think it's a good idea?
Yes,
It's a,
Prabhuji.
yeah.
Prabhuji.
No, there'll be no fees for that course.
Yes,
No
Prabhu.
fees for that course. That course will be free course. No fees. Because I'll not be taking any examination of yours. I don't have to do any hard work
How
there. I
about
just have to
Prabhuji, two shlokas per class and a 1 year class?
No, I want to do one class only because that will keep it very focused. Like, okay, one class finish. Now you do some revision of it, study it, then we go for the next shloka. I don't want to rush. I'll live for some
Okay.
years, don't worry. So it's okay. 2 years are also fine.
It's about us, Prabhuji. It's
Uh,
about us.
so
Anyway, it's good, Prabhuji. We
you
will
will also
definitely
live for
join.
at least 2, 3 years, don't worry. So that is also. So I'll pick this, but let's say you pray for it. So next we are going to now start Krishna talking about Ananya Bhakti. So this is the first time in Bhagavad Gita Krishna mentions pure devotional service. Before that, Krishna has not mentioned pure devotional service. Okay. So 8.14 is the first verse in Bhagavad Gita which talks about Ananya, pure devotional service. He mentions that here. अनन्यचेतः सततं यो मां स्मरति नित्यशः तस्याहं सुलभः पार्थ नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः. So that's the verse. How do you know it talks about pure devotional service? Because of the word. Which word?
Ananya.
Ananya.
Ananya. Ananya means no other, exclusive. So this word is for pure devotional service, Ananya Bhakti or Ananya Cheta. So for one who always remembers me without deviation, I'm easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. So Prabhupada explains, this verse especially describes the final destination attained by the unalloyed devotees who serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhakti Yoga. Previous verses have mentioned four different kinds of devotees: the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation have also been mentioned or described: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, right? Um, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga. The principles of these yoga systems have some bhakti added. But this verse particularly mentions pure bhakti yoga, without any mixture of jnana, karma, or hatha, as indicated by the word ananya chetaha. In pure bhakti yoga, the devotee desires nothing but Krishna, okay, which is a very difficult job. It's not easy. A pure devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, nor does he seek oneness with the Brahma Jyoti, or salvation or liberation from material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything. Hmm? So I'll ask you a question. Let's say someone tells you, Prabhuji, Mataji, material life is very bad. So tomorrow you join the temple or the ashram, and then we will give you everything. Your food, your clothing, we will maintain you. You don't have to do anything. You can immediately become free from all anxieties of maintaining yourself in material world. And then you immediately agree to this proposal. So, so then what is the mentality here?
Detachment.
What is the mentality here?
It's not pure. Selfishness
Which kind of selfishness?
to get rid of the problems, to get rid of the
Yeah,
problems.
yeah. So that is, you can say mukti kamna. I want to get free from material problems. Okay. So externally it may look, oh, he's such a nice devotee. He left everything and he's just living in the temple. Temple is maintaining him and he's doing nothing, no job. He's fully dependent on Krishna, you see. But when that person joins, that person is thinking that I don't have to work hard anymore in material world. I don't have to travel in local trains or take taxis, apply for a job. I can just live here and get my maintenance very easily. Of course, that doesn't mean that all the people living in the temple are like that. We're talking about a particular case, a mentality. So then that mentality is what? He's interested in just liberation from material problems. That is not pure devotional service. Understanding. Hmm? So here we have to understand the mentality. What is mukti kamana? What is bhoga kamana? What is siddhi kamana? We have to understand that. Okay. So this is very essential. Hmm? Uh, a pure devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, nor does he seek oneness with the Brahma Jyoti or salvation or liberation from material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything. Therefore, this word, na pure devotee, is a very, very heavy word. It's not a simple thing. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pure devotee is called Nishkama, which means he has no desire for self-interest. Perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. Whereas a Jnana Yogi, Karma Yogi, or Hatha Yogi has his own selfish interests. A pure devotee has no desire other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord says that for anyone who's unflinchingly devoted to Him, he is easy to attain. Fine. So, let's say if I go to Vrindavan and on the Parikrama Marg, Vrindavan Parikrama Marg, I stand on one leg, you know, with the desire that I want to become such a nice tapasvi that I can just stand on one leg. And along with that, I chant Hare Krishna. So then do I become a pure devotee?
No.
No. Why? Because standing on one leg is a siddhi. Then I am a siddhi kami. Hmm. I want perfection in some material endeavor or material quality. You're understanding? Hmm? So externally, it may look like okay, it is devotional service, but still that person has some hidden agenda. Hmm. So therefore this is something which is very subtle and it has to be scrutinized very carefully. I'll give you another example. Let's say after a few years, I become very famous in iskcon as a good kirtaniya, which will never happen, but we are assuming. So uh, let's say I become famous as a very good kirtaniya. Now, next time, whenever I get invited to sing kirtan, I'm only thinking like this. Today, I'll sing such a melody which no one has sung, you know, and I'll sing a melody which will become very famous. I want to become perfect in all the ragas, all the alaps, everything. But I will do it also. I'll chant Krishna's name only. I'll sing Krishna's name only. So then, my thinking is that of pure devotee.
No.
I'm just wanting perfection in what? The skill of singing. It is again Siddhi Kamna. Understanding? Hmm? So, Siddhi Kamna doesn't just mean to become smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. There can be many types of siddhis that we may want or we may desire on material platform. Hmm? So, therefore, only one who is free from all such things, that person is a pure devotee. Hmm? Right? Okay. Let's say I get up at midnight, 12 a.m. in the night, and I chant 32 rounds before Mangalarti. Hmm? But I want everyone to know that I do this every day. So is it pure devotional service?
No.
No. But it may look like pure devotional service. Yes. Isn't it? So we have to understand pure devotional service means there is no personal interest at all of any type, of any kind. So is that very easy to come to? It's not. It's not. It's very difficult. Now, if it is very difficult and we can appreciate that this is actually the most pure thing possible. So those who are already at that platform, don't they become worshipable to us or highly respectful, respectable for us? Yes. Yes. Therefore, if those pure devotees are seen as acharyas and we worship them, there's nothing wrong about it because it's a very exalted position. Very, very exalted position. It's very difficult to come to that level. Okay, next paragraph. A pure devotee always engages in devotional service to Krishna in one of his various personal features. Krishna has various plenary expansions and incarnations such as Ram and Narsinga, and a devotee can choose to fix his mind in loving service to any of these transcendental forms of the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee meets with none of the problems that plague the practitioners of other yogas. Bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. How many of you agree with this? It's very simple, very easy to perform. Yeah, it is good for promotion, but in practice, it is not that easy to perform. One can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna. The Lord is merciful to all, but as we have already explained, is especially inclined toward those who always serve him without deviation. The Lord helps such devotees in various ways, as stated in the Vedas, Katha Upanishad 1.2.23. Yam evaisha vrinute tena lapyas tashyesa atma vivrinute tanum swam. One who is fully surrendered and engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord can understand the Supreme Lord as he is. And as stated in Bhagavad-Gita 10.10, Tadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, the Lord gives such a devotee sufficient intelligence so that ultimately the devotee can attain him in his spiritual kingdom. The special qualification of the pure devotee is that he's always thinking of Krishna without deviation and without considering the time or place. That is very interesting, right? Without considering the time or place. Not that I'm a devotee in temple, but when I go out of the temple, I'm not a devotee. No, you are a devotee everywhere, at all times, in all places. So there should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere and at any time. Some say that the devotee should remain in holy place like Vrindavan or some holy town where the Lord lived, but a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vrindavan by his devotional service. It was Sri Advaita who told Lord Chaitanya, wherever you are, O Lord, there is Vrindavan, as indicated by the words Satatam and Nityashaha, which mean always regularly or every day. So this is again very interesting. So whenever we say no, we should do Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, it has three meanings. What is first meaning? You do Bhagavatam Seva always. The second meaning is you do it regularly. Or the third meaning is you do every day. Hmm? Every day. So every day is also in one sense Nitya only. Nitya. So therefore, our sadhana, whatever we do in our sadhana, we should try our best that we do it. We follow this principle of nitya. Means it should be at least every day. If we cannot do it at every moment, we should do every day. That's why Prabhupada said, every day you should chant, every day you should read, every day you should hear, every day you should do some kirtan, every day. That's called nitya, daily. You know? So it's very important. We have to do it daily. We cannot do it at every moment, but at least daily we can try. Little, we should practice. So these are qualifications of the pure devotee for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Bhakti Yoga is the system that Gita recommends above all others. Generally, the Bhakti Yogas are engaged in 5 different ways. Shanta Bhakta, engaged in devotional service in neutrality. Dasya Bhakta, engaged in devotional service as servant. Sakhya Bhakta, engaged as friend. Vatsalya Bhakta, engaged as parent. And Madhurya Bhakta, engaged as conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord. In any of these ways, the pure devotee is always constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord and cannot forget the Supreme Lord. And so for him, the Lord is easily attained. A pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment. And similarly, the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. This is the great blessing of the Krishna conscious process of chanting the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, next verse, text 15. So now Krishna will speak about the nature of this material world and the nature of the spiritual world. So first of all, he says, Mamupetya punarjanma dukhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmanah samsiddhim paramam gataha. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. So why should we engage in pure devotional service? Because if you do that, we don't have to take birth again. That's the point. You don't take birth again in material world. two things are here, the qualities of this material world. Which are those two? Dukhalayam and Ashashvatam. So Prabhupada says, if the world is full of miseries, some people may give an excuse or give an argument. Don't worry, Swamiji. We will learn to adjust to it. Like many people say, no, it's okay. Life is full of both happiness and miseries. You should not be too much thinking about only happiness. Misery will also come. So just accept it. If you tell them become a devotee so that you don't have any miseries in life, they will say, it's okay. Miseries are also part of life now. We should accept that also. So, okay, if you want to accept miseries and you want to adjust yourselves to miserable situation, the problem is what? Shri Prabhupada said in a lecture, even the problems will keep on changing. That means you can't even permanently adjust also. That means I will always be in anxiety. Always in anxiety. So this is the nature of this material world. If you learn to adjust to a problem, another problem comes. Then you learn to adjust to that problem, another problem comes. One cannot get rid of problems at all completely. So therefore, what for a person who's pure devotee, a great soul, it's better, and that's what happens. He doesn't take birth again, attains the highest perfection. Okay, please read the purport. Sanjay Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Since this temporary material world is full of miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death, naturally, who achieves the highest perfection and attains the supreme planet, Krishna Loka, Goloka, Vrindavana, does not wish to return. The supreme planet is described in Vedic literature as Avakta and Akshara and Parmagati. In other words, that planet is beyond our material vision, and it is inexplicable words that the planet is sorry, but it is the highest goal, the destination for the Mahatma's great soul. The Mahatmas receive transcendental messages from these realized devotees and thus gradually develop devotional service and Krishna consciousness and become so absorbed in transcendental service that they no longer desire elevation to any of the material planets, nor do they even want to be transferred to any spiritual planet. They only want Krishna and Krishna's association and nothing else. That is the highest perfection of life. This verse specifically mentions the personalist devotees of the Supreme Lord Krishna. These devotees in Krishna consciousness achieve the highest perfection of life. In other words, they are supreme souls. Hare Krishna.
Brahma Bhuvanal Lokaha
Hare
Punar
Krishna Prabhuji, sorry, I have a
Avartino.
question on the
Okay.
previous verse, Prabhuji. Sorry, to disturb. Prabhuji, in like the example that you gave earlier, right, where you talked about like even if I'm a great kirtanier and I want to learn raga or something like that, in a similar way, when I want to slingshot out of the birth and death, that is also out of a desire, right? It is not
Yeah,
to serve the Lord. So how is that any different than that's also a personal desire, right?
that is Mukti Kam.
So
That
that
is
is
desire
not
for
as
liberation.
higher as wanting to serve the Lord, right?
Of course. That's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam, va jagadish kami. Mama janmani janmineshwari bhavatan bhakti raheti titvai.
But here it looks like we are saying that coming out of the birth and death cycle should be the aim of life, right? But isn't that misleading?
Yeah, it is true because we we cannot directly aim at pure devotional service at our level. So we need at least, we need we need a step below, which is at least your desire to get out of this material world. Hmm. And after you practice bhakti with that desire, then after some years, that desire will also go away. So Srila Prabhupada, therefore, whenever he preached, he always emphasized on this. Don't take birth again, don't die again. Why? Because the audience is completely raw now, raw in terms of understanding bhakti. Bhakti is such a pure science. So they cannot understand it. Therefore, he wants to at least bring them to this realization that this material world is horrible. I don't want to continue living here. Because if you don't come to that realization, then you will continue to stay in material world only, right? I mean, be a part of material life. So first of all, at least that frustration should develop now that material world is a nonsense place, horrible place. So therefore, that emphasis is given a lot in the beginning of our Krishna consciousness, and that's not wrong. But eventually, as we start practicing Krishna consciousness and we become a bit detached from material life, we are not living in material world because we are happy living here, but we are living here because there is no other choice. Then you can also start developing this desire that I don't want to go back home, back to God, just because I want to escape problems. I want to focus myself on serving Krishna. And if Krishna takes me back home, back to Godhead, that is his personal choice. I'm not going to think about it or bother about it.
Yes, Prabhuji.
But then that can only come later. Initially, you cannot think like that. Otherwise, you will become little lax about your spiritual practices. Because
Yes,
okay,
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. And also, what is the meaning of the shloka that you just recited, Prabhuji?
which shloka I recited?
Just now, as an answer to the question, you recited from Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Na janam na dhanam.
Sikshashtakam. Sikshashtakam. Yeah, so that verse is na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. So he's saying Lord Chaitanya is praying here, na dhanam, I don't want wealth, na chanam, I don't want followers and popularity, na sundarim, I don't want to attract opposite sex towards me. Mama janmani, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. I don't want to become known as a very great learned pandit, poet, knowledgeable person, a jnani, a scholar, something like that. People should know me as a renowned, as I said, someone may say kirtaniya, someone may say preacher, someone may say social reformer, etc. So I don't want worldly, uh, you know, uh, what do you call it? A claim that I am such a big person. Mama janmani janmaneshware. I only desire that whatever births I take again and again, I only want your bhakti. That's all.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
So it's like that.
Prabhuji, just one other question. In the previous purport, the supreme planet is described as avyakta. Avyakta is unmanifested, right?
Yes.
So why it is said like that?
Because it is unmanifest. The material world is vyakta. So opposite of vyakta is avyakta.
But it also exists, right? So
There is a difference between manifest and existence. Manifest means what is perceivable.
okay.
So vyakta means it is perceivable to you. Avyakta means it is not perceivable to you. Okay. So there is a part of material world also which is avyakta, and that will come in 8.22. There is a difference between existence and manifestation.
And the word akshara here represents the supreme, is it?
Infallible, yes.
Infallible.
Akshara.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, now 8.16. A Brahma Bhuvanalokaha Punaravartino Arjuna. Are you seeing the screen? No. Ma Mupetyatu Kaunteya Punarjanma na Vidyate. From the highest planet, which is of Brahmaji, in the material world down to the lowest. All are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth. So this is basically to discourage us by telling that wherever you go, you will find problems in this world or in life. That means changing your situation, changing your place will not solve your problems ultimately. That's what is being told. Those problems will be everywhere. And it is very true. So one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Okay? Purport. Arati Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Since this temporary material world is full of the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death, naturally he who achieves the highest perfection and attains the supreme planet Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavana, does not wish to return. The supreme planet is described in Vedic literature as Avyakta and Akshara and Paramagati. In other words, this planet is beyond our material vision and it is inexplicable, but it is the highest goal, the destination for the Mahatmas, great souls. The Mahatmas receive transcendental messages from the realized devotees and thus gradually develop devotional service in Krishna consciousness and become so absorbed in transcendental service that they no longer desire elevation to any of the material planets, nor do they even want to be transferred to any spiritual planet. They only want Krishna and Krishna's association and nothing else. That is the highest perfection of life. This verse specifically mentions the personalist devotees of the Supreme Lord Krishna. These devotees and Krishna consciousness achieve the highest perfection of life. In other words, they are the supreme souls.
Yes.
That was previous verse, no, Prabhuji?
What?
Yes.
We were to read the 16th one.
I'm showing 15th or 16th?
16th.
But Mataji was reading something else.
Sorry.
Please read 16th, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. All kinds of yogis, karma, gnana, hatha, etc., eventually have to attain devotional perfection in Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness before they can go to Krishna's transcendental abode and never return. Those who attain the highest material planets, the planets of the demigods, are again subjected to repeated birth and death. As persons on earth are elevated to higher planets, people on higher planets such as Brahmaloka, Chandraloka, and Indraloka fall down to earth. The practice of sacrifice called Panchagni Vidya, recommended in the Chandogya Upanishad, enables one to achieve Brahmaloka. But if on Brahmaloka one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness, then he must return to earth. Those who progress in Krishna consciousness on the higher planets are gradually elevated to higher and higher planets, and at the time of universal devastation are transferred to the eternal spiritual kingdom. Sridhara Swami, in his commentary on Bhagavad-Gita, quotes this verse: Brahmana sahate sarve samprapte pratishanchare parasyante kritatmanah pravishanti param padam. When there is devastation of this material universe, Brahma and his devotees were constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness are all transferred to the spiritual universe and to specific spiritual planets according to their desires. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Prabhu Hare Krishna Prabhuji. What
Yes,
is meant by
Prabhuji.
what if one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness in Brahmaloka? He will have to come back again. What is meant by this?
If one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness
In Brahmaloka.
in Brahmaloka.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so if let's say let's say if someone has gone to Brahmaloka
Then how it
and
is possible?
there he doesn't become a devotee of Krishna, so there will be decline in consciousness, na, and that person will come down, right?
Is it possible there?
What is possible?
In Brahmaloka, is it possible there to cultivate
Huh?
Krishna consciousness? If one has reached to Brahmaloka,
Huh?
then it is possible for him to go further.
Why not? You can become a devotee anywhere.
For devotee, this material body is not required. For devotee, material body is required.
Brahmaji also has a material body, no?
Beg your pardon?
Brahma also has a material body only.
Yeah, yes, correct. Yes. You will have to
And
come
if you are
back.
living in Brahma Loka, that doesn't mean that you become Brahmaji. You live in Brahma Loka.
Brahma will have to come down.
So
After
there are residents in Brahma Loka. They are very elevated, very pure. So if they become pure devotee of Krishna, then they can also go back to Godhead. If they get association of pure devotees, they can also become pure devotees. Actually, this is one way of going back to Godhead. The Varnashram system, which was earlier followed in Vedic India, there was no concept of going back to Godhead in one life. In the Varnashram system, which was followed in Vedic India, if you are born as a Shudra in this life and you have been a very nice Shudra, religious Shudra, then in the next life you will be born as a Vaishya. Then if you have been a very religious Vaishya, then in the next life you will be born as a Kshatriya. Then if you have been a very religious Kshatriya, the next life will be born as a Brahmana. Then if you have been a very nice Brahmana, the next life you will be promoted to Brahma Loka. Then if you have been a very nice resident in Brahma Loka, a pure devotee, then you have to wait till Brahma dies.
till when Brahma dies,
Hmm.
change is there, change of the throne is there.
Brahma dies. Dies means because if you go to Brahma Loka, then there is no change. Then you are not affected by the day change, na? Then you are going to live as long as Brahma lives. So then you have to wait till Brahma dies. And then if you are a pure devotee, then you can go back to Godhead. Which is like long time. And what is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? This very lifetime, if you want, you can.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Are we saying that before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there was barely anybody who actually made it to
Yes,
Golok Vrindavan?
yes. If they made also, then it was because of long practice. It cannot be so quick. Because Sri Chaitanya
Prabhuji, then
Mahaprabhu,
yeah,
he
go ahead.
opened the gates to Golok Vrindavan. Earlier, the gate to Golok Vrindavan was closed. Gate to Vaikuntha was open. Sri Chaitanya came to open that gate of Golok Vrindavan.
Prabhu, anybody who goes, to Golok Vrindavan, before that he has to go to Bauma Vrindavana, and only then he can go to this one?
Yeah, yeah, that is there. But then Bhauma Vrindavan is also non-different from Vrindavan. So it is same only. So in the Varnashram system, the Vedic system, the process was very time-taking. In Kali Yuga, the process can be really fast. So this is Krishna's, you can say, Um, Krishna is very interesting personality. When people want it, Krishna doesn't give it. When people don't want it, Krishna wants to give it. Mhm. I mean, people in other ages, they were so serious about moksha and all that, but they would take such long time for it. In Kali Yuga, hardly anyone is interested in it, and Krishna is giving the offer. As soon as you want, you can come back to me. Very interesting. That's why he's supreme autocrat. Supreme autocrat means he can do anything and you can't question him. Why Krishna like this? He is free, independent, supreme Lord. So he's giving that offer to Kali Yuga Vasis. Okay.
But Prabhuji, one question. I mean, we hear different spiritual planets, the Vaikuntha planets, right? I mean, is there any difference like being in the Vaikuntha planet or Golok? Because they all are spiritual planets, right?
Of course, difference will be there, no? There is difference in flavor. There is difference in flavor. There is difference in intimacy with the Lord. There's a lot of differences there.
Means the rasas are different, but I mean,
rasas are not fully blossomed in Vaikuntha. In Goloka, all the rasas are fully blossoming. In Vaikuntha, they don't blossom because the Lord doesn't make himself available the way he makes himself available in Golok Vrindavan. In Vaikuntha, the Lord is very reserved, very reserved. So then, if he is reserved, you also have to be reserved. Correct? Because it is reciprocal. No? So that opportunity is not there because Krishna doesn't want to experience that rasa there. He wants to experience the rasa of, being reserved. So people should worship him with awe and reverence. He wants to enjoy that rasa. But in Golok, he is very free. So then the people who are there, they also experience that rasa with a lot of intimacy, which makes the experience, the relationship very sweet. That's what Golok is Madhurya Dham. Madhurya means sweetness. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes. So now let's have a discussion on this. It's a very simple question, but still we should be able to answer it properly. How is God a supremely kind person if he has created a world that is full of miseries? If he really loves his children, the living entities, should not he build them a house which is full of happiness?
Then
I remember, Prabhuji,
how full of
one of my friend, actually he was again and again telling his 3 years child not to touch the electrical socket. But once he was not obeying the desire, but again he was touching it and playing with the switch. Once what he did, he switched it on, and then he touched it and he got the shock. Then ultimately he stopped. Ultimately, what was the result? He stopped touching the switch again and again. So in the same way, Krishna has provided this word to understand the real thing, correct thing, so that one can be able to go back to the Godhead. Because it was a desire
basically what are you trying to say is, why should you make this happy place? Because after all, he doesn't want us to stay here. So why should he make it a happy place? Correct?
Yeah, enjoyment, because he was getting enjoyment in that, playing with the switch.
So that's the point. So now where is the problem? The problem is in our understanding of the purpose of this world. And this is a big problem in Islam religion and Christianity religion. In both Islam and Christianity, they see God as someone who gives them enjoyment. Means God is for giving me happiness. God is for making my life happy. That's their whole approach. Therefore, they will always question like this. If God exists, then why there's so much of suffering in this world? Because they don't have understanding of a world beyond this world. They think this is all. This is everything. So that's why it should be a happy place. But we understand that this is not the real place. There's a different real place. There it is full of happiness. This is a wrong place. And I'm in the wrong place. So if I'm in the wrong place and if this is full of happiness, how will I desire to leave the wrong place? I will never want to leave the wrong place. I would never desire to get out of it. Isn't it? So this place has been created for the purpose of me realizing that this is not the right place. So if you are going to create something with the purpose of giving an experience that this is not the right product, you will definitely create it with a defect, no? Otherwise, everyone is going to be. So therefore, the reason this world is, it's not to give you happiness. So how can I get happiness here? It's not possible. It has been created for a different purpose. So we have to understand that very clearly. Therefore, even as a devotee, this is something very important. Even as a practicing devotee, after some years of Krishna consciousness, we start thinking material life is not that bad because now I'm following four regulative principles. I'm not doing any pak karma. I'm very religious person. My wife is also religious. My husband is also religious. My children are also religious. We all have Diksha now. We are also associating with very good people, very pure people these days. Sadhu, we are, sitting and eating and spending time with sadhus, great personalities. So life is not that bad after all. So this is happy life. Mhm. So a person becomes so satisfied with this happy material life that a person forgets, I also have to go back home back to order, which means I also have to come to that level of my Krishna consciousness. Mm. So even if we become pure devotees of Krishna, this world is always going to remain the same only. It's not a very fit place. It's not a very good place. Right? So that the reason is that. Therefore, Krishna does not spare anyone. Anyone who comes to this material world will have to experience problems. Even if you are a pure devotee, Krishna will not spare you also. To give an example, the Pandavas, pure devotees, were they spared? No. Vishnu Pitama, pure devotee, was he spared? Prahlad Maharaj, pure devotee, was he spared?
No,
Haridas Thakur, pure devotee, was he spared?
no.
Beating in 22 marketplaces. I mean, just imagine, right? Srila Prabhupada, pure devotee, was he spared?
No.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
All these examples, like the more the pure devotee, more tougher the challenges, sir.
oh yes, yeah, because then the more pure you are, you can set a better example, no?
Yeah.
So then the tougher the challenge.
Yeah. So, Prabhuji, going back to the previous thing that you just answered earlier, right? That Goloka doors were closed and it got opened only after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had opened up.
Yeah.
So, why is it so, Prabhuji? I mean, is there any reason at all why it was like earlier people are not allowed into Goloka and now it's been? Is it because of Kali Yuga more merciful?
Because that kind of bhakti has to be given to us. Now, if it is not given to us, how will we do that kind of bhakti? It has to be given
Okay.
now. If there is, let's say, you want to learn something, but there is no one there to teach you, how will you learn?
I mean, that's what the question in other words is why weren't people before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came not merciful enough to get this teaching? Is it because of Kali Yuga things are getting so worse that
No,
Mahaprabhu
that time
came in?
also it was available, but it was not openly available. First thing. Second thing is that Sri Chaitanya, God, Krishna has his own plans, no? We cannot understand everything, what is in Krishna's mind, how is he making all the arrangements. Krishna has a big master plan. So how can our tiny intelligence fathom what Krishna's mind is, what is going on in his intelligence? Hmm?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to comprehend. So instead of thinking all that, we are so worried about others' good fortune. Are you making good advantage of your good fortune? That should
Trying,
be our
Prabhuji.
that should be
That's
our
all big, yeah.
concern. That should be our concern, no?
That is
Is it?
definitely I'm just trying to understand, Prabhuji.
So the thing is, Krishna has his plans, and it was available earlier also, but it was very rare because there was Krishna at different times. No, he allows different kinds of people to experience him in different manners. That is actually very true because Krishna exists in so many forms, and all of those forms, I mean, people would be interested in different forms, right? It's not that Krishna wants everyone to come to Golok Vrindavan. Krishna wants them to get attracted to whatever form they would naturally get attracted to, whether it is Lord Ramachandra, whether it is Lord Narayana. It's not that, okay, because after all, Lord Narayana is also Krishna only, no? Lord Ramachandra is also Krishna only.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So, and different times he makes different things available. In Kali Yuga, by the mercy of Chaitanya, this is more readily available. That is the point. It's more easily available. It's more openly available. But that doesn't mean that because it is readily available, everyone is going back to God and to Golok Vrindavan. Only that opportunity is there.
Prabhu, one question.
Hmm.
Prabhu, I mean, at my level, like, I mean, if I'm miserable, then I will not be able to progress much in Krishna consciousness. So, how to deal with that? I mean, should I try to come out of the misery?
Therefore, there has to be a balance of misery and happiness. If you're too miserable, you cannot. If you're too happy, then also you cannot.
Okay.
Prabhuji, one question. I mean, it's always like rather confusing that in our prayers, like, should we ask Krishna to make us devotee birth after birth, or we should ask him, like, just take me out of the birth cycle? I mean,
There is nothing about, I'm telling you something very honestly, there is nothing like should this or should that. You, because these prayers, they come naturally from the heart based on your consciousness. So a prayer like Maman Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatad Bhakti Rahe Tukito is a very exalted prayer. And only when such a prayer comes from your heart will that prayer be listened also. Before that, if you artificially say that prayer, it will not be listened by the Lord. It has to come from the heart. Therefore, when we hear the scriptures and we hear all these things, it is for our understanding, for us to develop appreciation, all that. That doesn't mean that if something is highest, from today I should start practicing that highest because I'm not qualified for it. I don't have adhikar for it. This is a very important point. Adhikar comes gradually. But why we discuss all this? Because if you don't see the highest goal, I will never want to come to that highest goal. Therefore, we will always discuss the highest because that is the, let's say, Parama Purushartha. But to come to that Parama Purushartha, I may not be immediately qualified. I may not have adhikar. So what is whimsical behavior? Whimsical behavior is you immediately want to jump to that. That is whimsical behavior. That means just like people in this material world like to dream a lot. You know, they see any successful person, immediately they start dreaming. I also want to become like him. I also want to become like her. But they don't understand a lot of hard work has gone in becoming that person. It has not become like that, correct? Similarly, if the gopis are so special, if the Golok Vasis are so special, the Vraj Vasis are so special, lot of efforts and kripa has gone in for them to come to that platform. Which means there's nothing wrong to aspire, but the thing is, I will still take steps according to my adhikar and my level. So at our level, the first prayer we should make is, how can I come out from my material entanglement and start practicing pure devotional service? That should be our first step. No? This is not an exaggeration, but even in iskcon, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, hardly few people understand pure devotional service and practice it. Hardly few. Why I say so? Because which book talks about pure devotional service?
Nectar of Devotion.
Nectar of Devotion, right? Bhakti-sastri Sindhu.
Yeah.
You go around in your community. You ask devotees, how many of you have nicely studied this book? Bhagavad-Gita is only the beginning. Srila Prabhupada said Bhagavad-Gita is the basic book. And it's very difficult to find devotees who have actually read the whole Bhagavad-Gita. So what to speak of Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti-sastri Sindhu? So at our level, the members of iskcon society, our prayer should be, or our aspiration should be, how can I become free from material entanglement? And come to, first of all, the stage of understanding and practicing pure devotional service. That is the first step. After that, we discuss or study or aspire later. First step should be this. Of course, we'll not talk all this if you are in a Bhakti Viksha program or you're just coming to temple for Sunday feast or you're just getting initiated. But let's say you are initiated or you're doing a course like Bhakti-sastri. So then this should be our understanding. Does it make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So then we can talk about the next levels and all that. But first is this, that I should become free from my material entanglement and come to pure devotional service. That aspiration should be very strong in our heart. But still at our stage, we are so much, living in the world of illusion that this material world is such a nice place and I want to become this, I want to become that, I want this, I want that. then we are still very much materially entangled. That doesn't mean that material entangled doesn't mean you have to give up all your duties. Material entangled mean where your heart is. Where your heart is. Your heart cries for what? That is material entanglement. What does it cry for? You should ask yourself, what do I want in my life? What am I looking for? Where is my satisfaction? Where is my solace? No. So that is the first thing. All right. Today's class is becoming quite heavy. Let's mellow it down a bit.
No, Prabhuji, not heavy. Interesting.
Next section. Comparing material and spiritual worlds. So in 3 verses, Krishna talks about material world, and then in 3 verses talks about spiritual world. 17, 18, 19, material world, 20, 21, 22, spiritual world. Okay. Again, the comparison is done for what sake? To help us develop this desire. Material world is useless. I don't want to take birth there again and again. And spiritual world is a place of great happiness. So I want to go there. Okay. So that's why this comparison is given. So let's look at verse number 17. Sahasrayuga paryantam aharyad brahmano viduhu ratrim yuga sahasrantam teho ratra vido janaha. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's 1 day. And such also is the duration of his night. So Krishna is telling Brahma lives for a long, long time. But what happens after that long, long life? He also dies. That means, what is the benefit? No benefit. Therefore, it is said, it's long, he has a long life, purport. Kamesina Prabhu, please read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. The duration of the material universe is limited. It is manifested in cycles of kalpas. A kalpa is a day of Brahma, and 1 day of Brahma consists of 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas or ages: Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. The cycle of Satya is characterized by virtue, wisdom, and religion. There being practically no ignorance and vice. The yuga lasts 17 lakh 28,000 years. In Treta Yuga, vice is uh, vice is introduced, and this yuga lasts 12 lakh 96 years. In the Dwapar Yuga, there is even greater decline in virtue and religion, vice increasing, and this yuga lasts 8 lakh 64,000 years. And finally, in Kali Yuga, the yuga we have now been experiencing over the past 5,000 years, there is an abundance of strife, ignorance, irreligion, and vice, true virtue being practically non-existent, and this yuga lasts 4,32,000 years. In Kali Yuga, vice increases to such a point that at the termination of the yuga, the Supreme Lord himself appears as a Kalki Avtara, vanquishes the demons, saves his devotees, and commences another Satyuga. Then the process is set rolling again. These 4 yugas rotating 1,000 times comprise 1 day of Brahma, and the same number comprise one night. Brahma lives 100 of such years and then dies. These 100 years by Earth calculations total to 311 trillion and 40 billion Earth years. By these calculations, the life of Brahma seems fantastic and interminable, but from the viewpoint of eternity, it is as brief as a lightning flash. In a casual ocean, there are innumerable Brahmas rising and disappearing like bubbles in the Atlantic. Brahma and his creations are all part of the material universe, and therefore they are in constant flux. In the material universe, not even Brahma is free from the process of birth, old age, disease, and death. Brahma, however, is directly engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord in the management of this universe. Therefore, he at once attains liberation. Elevated sannyasis are promoted to Brahma's particular planet, Brahmalok, which is the highest planet in the material universe and which survives all the heavenly planets in the upper strata of the planetary system. But in due course, Brahma and all the inhabitants of Brahmalok are subject to death according to the law of material nature. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. So here Prabhupada gives the calculation of Brahma's life, how long he lives, 311 trillion and 40 billion years, which is a very long, long life. Of course, he doesn't feel it that long. From our perspective, it is very long. For him, it is 100 years only. So the point he's trying to make is, even if you live for so long time in this world, which is a pretty long time, and that also in Brahmaloka, that means practically you have experienced everything that you want to experience, isn't it? Still, what happens? Death again, birth again, which means not a good proposal to become a Brahma or to enter into Brahmaloka, right? Next, avyakta vyaktayah sarvah prabhavanti ahar agame ratri agame praliyante tatraiva avyakta sangyake. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state. And thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. So you know this, right, from Srimad Bhagavatam, that at the night of Brahmaji, what happens? Destruction happens. Pralay, correct? Pralay happens. And in that pralay, which all planets, they enter into water? They get submerged into water? Huh?
All except Brahmalok.
No.
All the
Hmm? Which planets they get submerged in water at the time of pralaya, which happens after every day of Brahma, up to Swargaloka.
Swargaloka. Mhm.
Okay. So you know this, right? Above planet Earth, there are six, and below planet Earth, there are 7, 14, isn't it? Correct? This is known. So Bhu, Bhuvar, Swarg, 3. Bhu, Bhuvar, Swarg, right? So up to Swarga, there is water, including Swarga also. It's completely in water. After Swarga, there are 4 planets. Janalok, Tapalok, Maharlok, and Satyalok, Brahmalok, also known as. These 4, they are not affected. You're understanding? Hmm? So this is very interesting. What happens then when the Brahma's night gets over? What happens? That water will come down, isn't it? Water has risen up, no? So when Brahma's night will get over, what will happen? That water will come down. Then only these 3 surfaces will become manifest again, na? Swargaloka, Bhuvarloka, and Bhuloka. Correct? So what happens is when that water comes down, sometimes that water comes down so fast at such a big speed that because of that, the planet Earth gets knocked off from its place. It slips off, you know, because it is coming at such a fast speed from top, and Earth is inside, it is submerged in the water, you know. So what happens? It gets knocked off from that place, from its position, and then it goes deep into the ocean. That's when Varadev then comes to pick the earth and put it back in its position. So it happens. So sometimes Hiranyaksha, he steals earth, then the earth gets into the Garbhodak Sagar. And sometimes at the beginning of Brahma's day, because of the current of water, the earth gets knocked off and goes into the bottom of the ocean. So this happens. That means Brahma's life is also full of problems. You know, he has to do so much of maintenance. Okay. And he has to do every day. Every day he gets up in the morning, he has to go to work, which means create the planetary systems again. Because at night, all that got destroyed. So he's also not peaceful. He also has a job. And this happens every day. Just imagine, every day you have to make your house, construct your house. Difficult. No?
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Hmm.
Sir, Prabhuji, why the Dwapar is third and Treta is second?
That is interchanged. We can talk about it some other time. Interchanged. Sometimes it is interchanged. Yes. Okay. So otherwise, the right order is Satya Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga. Sometimes it was interchanged. Hmm. That's the
One
subject
other
of
question.
Srimad Bhagavatam. Hmm.
Sorry, Prabhu.
Yeah.
We only talk about planet Earth, and we do know, at least in the modern science, that there are other planets. In our scriptures, does it refer to those, Prabhuji?
Yeah. Various
And what
reference.
happens to those in Pralay? They stay, like, because we talk about 8, 9, whatever the number is.
You see, the modern science, it has a very petty understanding of the reality of the world. And it's a very wrong understanding. Therefore, you cannot see these two things with the same lens. If you want to understand Vedic cosmology, then you have to remove the lens of modern science. It cannot be understood with the lens of modern science. But all these planets are there in Vedic cosmology also. However, the way they are arranged, it's not the way we see in the solar system. Okay?
Okay, Prabhuji.
Mhm. Like, I'll ask you one question. Think about it. It's a very interesting thing. Are we all in illusion?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So who is putting us in illusion? Maya Devi?
Maya.
So the way you see the sky, is that not an illusion? The way
In
you
a
see
way.
the space, is that not an illusion?
Yes.
Yes.
So the way the scientists understand the reality, is that not an illusion created by Maya?
Yes.
So how can they know the reality? Whatever they understand about the reality, it's only an illusion state of reality given to them by Maya Devi. Our illusion is so strong that we see something as red, which is actually not red. That is also proven by science, right? An object which is red color is actually not red color. It is reflecting red light. That's why it is appearing as red color. This is we studied in physics, right? Isn't it? It's not red. It is reflecting red, and that's why it appears as red. So you can see in such a small way, we are so much in illusion. So what to speak of we making diagram of the whole solar system? This is Neptune, this is Pluto, this is Earth, this is Mars, this is, it's a big time illusion by Maya Devi created for us. Hmm. Therefore, Vedas, when you want to study Vedic cosmology or Vedic science, then you have to give up all that scientific approach because that is not correct. It's defective. That's what we study. Prabhupada will say in Ishopanishad. Human beings have 4 defects. They cannot get complete knowledge with those 4 defects. You have to receive the knowledge from a higher source.
Yes, yes. Yes,
Understand? Hmm?
yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Therefore, it's interesting. And this world is such created by Krishna. It is a very mysterious place. Like I'm going to talk something very scientific now. I mean, of course, nowadays science is studied by everyone. Have you heard of particle wave theory? In physics, it is there, which means those scientists who try to study particles or atoms at very minute level, they are always confused whether a thing is a particle, is it mass, is it matter, or it's a wave. It's a big time confusion. If they want, if they can see it as particle also, and they can see it as a wave also. This is what led to E equals to mc square. Things like that. Now, just think about it. They say both are possible, that something can be simultaneously a particle and as well as a wave. So is it not an illusion? Because you're not seeing a thing in one way, you are seeing it in 2 ways. That means what? If the Prakriti wants to show you as a particle, you see as a particle. If the Prakriti wants to show you it as a wave, you see it as a wave. That which the point here is if our approach is completely self-dependent approach, that I'll try to understand reality with how I perceive, we can never understand there. Therefore, Vedas are there, scriptures are there. That is very important to understand.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Huh.
But these planets that what we study in our current physics, like these are still material bodies, right? Which can be still perceived, which means somebody can actually.
Yeah, you can perceive them, but the way you perceive them is also an illusion.
Like for example, like they send these satellites to moon. That means physically they're landing on the surface, like for example Mars or moon, which means they are existing there, like a material body.
Yeah, it is existing, but what is existing? It is an illusion only that is existing. Matter is illusion.
Yeah, I think science ends because for science actually once the matter is discovered, I think that's it. I think that's
it. They think that's all. But they don't understand that this universe is such a mysterious place. When it will create matter and when it will destroy matter, you will not even come to know. No. It can put someone in illusion. Therefore, no scientist agrees with other scientists' realization. Why? Because every time a person tries to understand something about material cosmos, he gets a different picture only. And most of us, what we know, it's not that we have experienced it. We are blindly accepting it as an authoritative statement of some other scientist. So therefore, the way we will see reality will never be perfect, and it will not match with the explanations given in the Vedas. It will always have some, you can say, differences. Therefore, to understand it properly, you have to then change the approach. which means give a pratyaksha, rely on Shabda, then Shabda will give you experience of pratyaksha. It's a very different paradigm, Prabhuji. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada used to be so heavy against the scientists.
Yes, Prabhuji. I think the challenge comes there. Like, for example, if you want to visualize Patal Lok, I mean, it is something which we cannot perceive or see in the. I mean, in the Vedic cosmology, yeah, through the Shabda Praman we understand, but for a normal person to perceive it, it becomes impossible. Rather than perceiving a planet, Moon, or a Mars, or any other planet in the solar system. So
that is true, but then why you want to perceive it? There's no point in perceiving it.
because it's a material body that is existing, and Patal Lok is something which we cannot see with our naked eyes.
But that doesn't mean that it's not there.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's not there.
Yes,
The point is what you can see with material eyes, that also we don't see correctly. That's the point I'm trying to say. So if
Yes.
I'm not able to see something, how does it make a difference? What I see, that also I don't see correctly. Like what we see as moon. Do you think that is the moon? That is not the moon. What the scientists tell us, this is the moon, that is not the moon. You know, that is not the moon. Man has never landed on the moon. It's not possible. Because the moon is described in the scriptures, and the description is very clear what the moon is like. Where they have landed, that cannot be the moon. The description of the moon given in the scripture is what, you know? The layer of the moon is covered with ice, thick ice. Did the scientists find that ice? The moon is explained to be the best place in heaven for enjoyment. And what the scientists have found about moon? It's a place where no one lives, and we can go and start living there. So there are many things which what we see, we are taking a photograph of the moon, and this is the moon. This is what the Maya Devi Prakriti is showing you. That's not how it looks like. And does Maya not have that potency? Of course, it has potency. It has that capacity to put us in illusion. Please try to understand what I'm saying. There are descriptions given of moon, very clear descriptions. How does the moon give us cold, soothing light? Can the scientists explain it? They don't even understand. When the sunlight it falls on the moon, because of the ice covering on the moon, that sunlight gets reflected by the moon, and because that light comes in contact with ice, that light becomes soothing in nature. That yellow light transforms into white light. Is given in the Vedic scriptures.
That is what is universally accepted also, right, Prabhuji? Like, moon doesn't have its own light. It's a reflection of the sun only.
Yeah,
Even science says that only.
but then they don't understand from where it is reflected.
Okay.
And you have seen the photographs of man landing on moon, 1960s, 70s,
Yes, Prabhuji.
right? So that is not moon. We also know it's in controversy, but we know that's not moon. Therefore, the pratyaksha can maybe little correct, but it's not completely correct. And pratyaksha is many times an illusion created by Maya Devi. to show us something which is not. That is one of the potencies of Maya. Maya has two Shaktis. To cover the reality, first potency, and second to show the illusion. That's the point.
Yeah, I
Okay.
totally understand, Prabhuji, related to Maya and everything. Yeah, if it's not relevant, I think I can stop here for this topic. But uh, a few things, sir, just like one scientist doesn't agree with another, it's all that happens. Similarly, in this spiritual realizations or self-realization of the spiritual masters, also not only in iskcon but across iskcon and different outside of iskcon, everything is different. So there's again same thing, one doesn't agree with another. And similarly, just like you gave the example of particle, wave, Maya covering, and it sometimes we see particle, sometimes wave. Similarly, our Achintya Bheda Tattva is also like that. So
No,
it
you are
is
comparing
dual,
two
it's not
different things. You are comparing
single.
two different
So
things.
I'm just telling, I'm not, I totally understand, and it's not like,
You are
so
comparing two
please.
different things. The duality of material world is created by Maya, material energy of Krishna. And the duality in the spiritual reality is created by internal energy of Krishna. That duality is created in the spiritual world to
Yes,
promote
yes.
variety, which is for enjoyment. And the duality which is created in material world by Maya Devi, that is to put us in illusion. So
Yes,
those two
Prabhuji.
things cannot be compared.
Compared. Okay.
Cannot compare those two things.
So, Prabhuji, going back to the question that
Just like
Mataji.
to give you an example, there is husband-wife relationship in material world, but there is husband-wife relationship in spiritual world also. So can you compare them?
Yeah, no.
Like that, you cannot compare spiritual duality with material duality.
Prabhuji, yeah. So that's correct. But the scientists, each one challenging each other, not agreeing with each other. Similarly, in the self-realization of spiritual masters, also it's different one to another, and it's never agreed on the same lines. So
So
that's one
why
of
they
the.
have to agree? No, what is the problem? Why they have to agree? The problem is when I'm trying to unnecessarily criticize the other person, or I'm trying to unnecessarily force the other person to accept my path. But why do I have to agree with the other person on everything? You don't have to agree. You follow your path
No,
as per
it's not like
as per
we
your
want to agree
purpose.
or not agree, but the outcome isn't the same, right? Just like a scientist's
The outcome is
outcomes are
not the
not the
same.
same,
The outcome is
and
not the
they
same.
are different.
The outcome is
Similarly here,
different.
yeah.
The outcome is different level of spiritual realization. It's not the same. So you have to choose your path. What level of spiritual realization you want.
Yeah.
And then you follow that path. If you want the spiritual
Yeah.
realization being given by Ramanujacharya, then you have to accept the philosophy and the practice given by Ramanujacharya. And if you want to experience the spiritual realization given by Madhvacharya, then you have to follow the philosophy and the practice given by Madhvacharya. And they are not the same. If you want to
Yes.
experience the realization that is being given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers in Gaudiya Sampradaya, then you have to follow the philosophy and practice of Gaudiya Sampradaya, which is not the same as that of Madhva Sampradaya and Ramanujacharya Sampradaya. So it's all, what do you want? If you don't know what you want, and if you just study everything and then get confused, this person says this, that person says this, then that is your problem because you are not clear what you want.
Yeah.
You are understanding? then you don't know
Yes,
what you
yes,
want.
yes, Prabhuji. I mean,
You don't know
that's the reason.
what realization you are aspiring for. Therefore, this question is not this question. When you say there are differences, so that is a reality. There are differences, and there have to be differences, because if there are different levels of realization, how can everything be same? I want to eat chocolate ice cream, and I want to eat vanilla ice cream. How can everything be same? Chocolate ice cream means you have to have chocolate ingredient. Vanilla, then vanilla ingredient. Cannot be the same. Therefore, people, if they say everything is spirituality, everything is one, then again this is then Mayavad philosophy only, na? All the teachers, they should say the same thing. All the gurus, they should say the same philosophy. All should teach the same level of realization. Then where is variety?
Mm,
Then there is no variety.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. Yeah. My point was more related to the, yes, obviously the different philosophies go to a certain extent only. Everything is not fully there. So, yeah. So, it's from the scientist point of view. I was telling similarly, scientists also, some person knows a little bit, some person knows less, and that's why they are different.
Yeah, that's why they're different. And we all are
Thank you,
wrong.
Prabhuji. But anyway, I think, yeah, analogies are from my.
So they're all wrong, because what they know is only illusion. It's not reality. So someone is little wrong, someone is more wrong, someone is most wrong, but it's all wrong. It's all wrong.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
How to come out of the differences which arise and result in conflicts?
Which differences?
Suppose I say X, another say Y, and he is following Y, I am following X. Then ultimately at some stage some difference arises and conflict starts. What should be done?
You are asking a
What is the
very,
way out?
I mean, sometimes when you ask questions, no, it is not specific. I like, let's say, mango, you like apple. So what is the problem? There is a conflict in my liking. So then what I should tell you, you should also like apple, and you should tell
I am
me I
going
should
beyond.
also like.
I am going beyond this type of liking mango and apple. I am saying the
So,
conflict arises.
so
Ultimately, what is happening?
you have to give a specific example, no?
It
What
is happening
level
in
of
every corner.
conflict?
Say it is happening every corner. Day and today or daily we read something
Prabhu,
conflict and
do you think there is no conflict in spiritual world?
conflict in spiritual world is there,
So,
but in this material world, anarchy is happening. If we go
but
on,
then if your question is conflicts are there, but the point is conflicts will always be there.
always they will be fighting. Always they
No,
will be fighting. Quarrel.
conflicts will
Always
always be there. So
fighting.
your maturity is you understand that conflicts will be there, and you be happy with what you are having, and you don't try to force your thing on the other person.
Not forcing, but killing of the people and unnecessary. So
Again, you are
many.
mixing subjects. That's what I was asking you. Give me example. Give me example. Don't talk formulas with me, na, because that formula may be correct in some case, it may be wrong in some case. Like, for example, when you say X is there, Y is there, conflict is there. So you're talking in abstract language. I give you example. I like apple, you like orange. What is the problem? So you have to speak uh, in a very specific manner, because what formula applies in one case may be correct, and the same formula in another case will become wrong. This is a big mistake which many of us do. We don't try to understand things in context. We want to apply spiritual principles in material context. We want to apply material principles in spiritual context. We want to compare things which are incomparable. So how will you then understand the subject matter? And this has become a big mistake of modern day students of scriptures. What is the problem? They'll study something in the school which is a completely different subject, different way of approaching the subject, different way of getting the result out of the subject, and then they want to study the Shastra with the same lens. But you can't study the scriptures with the same lens. That the point is, you can't apply one principle in one situation which may be correct to another place. It's not possible. So conflicts, what's wrong with conflict?
To take the example Jerusalem, there are three parties, three faiths, you can say.
Now you're giving example. So that's what I'm trying to say. When you ask a question, please make it very specific. Don't make abstract questions. Is that clear? Give examples. In spiritual world also there is conflict between the group of Radharani and the group of Chandravali. So is it wrong? Krishna enjoys that. Therefore, be very particular when you ask question. And second thing, whenever we are having any subject, we should know that you can't use the same lens to understand all the subjects. When you are studying Shastra, the lens of Shastra is Shraddha. That is the lens you need to have to study Shastra, scriptures. And when it comes to mundane knowledge, the lens is something else. It's not the same. Very different. Okay. Let's go to the next verse. So at the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest. And thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. Next verse. Bhuta gramaha sa Bhuta grama sa evayam bhutva praliyate ratri agame vashah partha prabhavatya ahar agame. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. The less intelligent who try to remain within this material world. Okay, someone please read. Sankarsha Vishnu Prabhuji, please read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The less intelligent who try to remain within this material world may be elevated to higher planets and again must come down to this planet Earth. During the daytime of Brahma, they can exhibit their activities on higher and lower planets within this material world. But at the coming of Brahma's night, they are all annihilated. In the day, they receive various bodies for material activities, and at night they no longer have bodies but remain compact in the body of Vishnu. Then again, they are manifest at the arrival of Brahma's day. Bhuta praliyate. During the day, they become manifest, and they die. At the night, they are annihilated again. Ultimately, when Brahma's life is finished, they are all annihilated and remain unmanifested and remain unmanifest for millions and millions of years. And when Brahma is born, again in another millennium, they are again manifest. In this way, they are captivated by the spell of material world. But those intelligent persons captivated by the spell of the material world. But those intelligent persons who take to Krishna consciousness use the human life fully in the devotional service of the Lord, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thus they transfer themselves even in this life to the spiritual planet of Krishna and become eternally blissful there, not being subject to such rebirths.
Yes. So here Krishna explains how living entities are so helpless. At the end of Brahma's day, They are helplessly annihilated, which means they have no control over that. So this helplessness is being mentioned here to show their miserable state. To be helpless is not a good state. We are not happy if we are helpless. So helplessly we have to take birth. Helplessly we have to grow old. Helplessly we have to die. Helplessly we have to experience life the way it is. So helplessness means what? That means you are miserable. Then there is no freedom. You are helpless about it. So it is said that even if you become Brahma, after Brahma's year life is over, you will be helplessly annihilated. Every day you are helplessly annihilated. Whereas a person becomes free from material entanglement, then there is no annihilation of there is no unmanifestation of the soul. Then the soul can eternally participate in Krishna's pastimes, always, forever. There is no helplessness there. Then you are situated in the position in which you can be eternally happy. That's the point. Going back home, back to Godhead, we should understand what it means. It means you are back to that state in which you are going to be eternally satisfied. That means you don't want to change that. In material world, there is nothing like that. Every state, you want to change it after some time. After some time, you want to change it. You can't be in a particular state forever. If you are liking to eat now, the next moment you don't like to eat. If you like to sleep now, the next moment you don't like to sleep. This is what Rupa Goswami explained in Bhakti-Rasamrita Sindhu. The nature of material world is bhoga, tyaga. Bhoga, tyaga. Which means nothing is permanent. You have to give up. But in spiritual world, you become eternally situated in that particular identity. And you become happy, completely service. A material reality, that permanency cannot come. It will always keep on changing. Okay, so someone goes to Golok Vrindavan, that person is eternally happy in that particular role. Someone goes to Vaikuntha, that person is eternally happy in that role. Someone goes to Ayodhya, that person is eternally happy in that role. But someone goes to Brahma Jyoti, can he be eternally happy in Brahma Jyoti?
No.
No, there will be a time when that person will become dissatisfied with Brahma Jyoti also. Similarly, someone becomes a Brahma, can he be eternally happy with that identity as Brahma? No, there will be a time when there will be a dissatisfaction. But going back home, back to Godhead means what? To go back to that identity of mine, after attaining which I don't want to attain anything else.
Hare
And
Krishna, Prabhuji.
that is your perfection. And you know what? That perfection of yours may be different from my perfection. My perfection of might be different from someone else's perfection. But why is it perfection? It is not a it's not a collective idea of perfection. We should understand. Shastra talks about an individual idea of perfection. You are understanding? An individual idea of perfection. But because we are born and brought up in this material culture, we don't have this individual idea of perfection. Our idea of perfection is objective, but scripture talks about subjective idea of perfection. Please try to understand these two things, subjective and objective. Material world, what is objective idea of perfection? If I become the class topper, I'll be happy. But how many people can become the class topper? How many? Only one? That means only one person can become happy. I'll become rich. How many people can become rich? Because if you become rich, someone has to become poor. So it is an objective idea. But in spiritual reality, there is subjective idea of perfection. Therefore, there are differences in spiritual reality also. But there is no problem with that difference because Hanuman is happy being Hanuman. Prahlad is most happy being Prahlad. The gopis are most happy being gopis. Arjuna is most happy being Arjuna. The tree in Vrindavan is most happy being the tree in Vrindavan. And the gatekeeper of Vaikuntha is most happy being the gatekeeper. Okay, we'll stop here. Any questions or
Hare Krishna
comments?
Prabhuji, one question. You just mentioned that even Brahma is unhappy in being Brahma, right? Even in the puppet of 17, it is written, Brahma, however, is directly engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord in the management of the universe. Therefore, he at once will attain liberation. So, what is the need for Brahmaji to be unhappy, Prabhuji? Because he will attain liberation anyways, right?
No, why will he attain anyways?
That is what is written in 17, no, Prabhuji, or am I misreading or
What is
understanding?
written? Please
The
read again.
last paragraph of 17, in the for last paragraph, first 3 lines, if you see,
Read.
in the material universe, not even Brahma is free from the process of birth, old age, disease, and death. Brahma, however, is directly engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord in the management of this universe. Therefore, he at once attains liberation.
Yeah, so now you have to understand, you have to read between the lines. What is given here? Brahma is not free from. What is not free
Correct.
from?
Birth, death, and old age.
Fine. But the next line says, however, he is engaged in the service of the
Service of
Lord.
the Lord. Yeah.
But if he's engaged in the service of the Lord, he has to do that service as service now.
Yeah.
If he doesn't do that service in devotional consciousness, what will happen?
He might not attain liberation.
Yes.
Okay. Makes sense, Prabhuji.
Right? So, yes, he has that opportunity. He has the task, which is a seva. But if he doesn't do that with seva bhav, he does with false ego. I am Brahma. I am such a nice creator. I am so intelligent. Finish then?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Then does he fall down?
Huh? Then he falls down. So, therefore, not all Brahmas are devotees. There are many Brahmas which are mixed devotees. Okay? Yes. Anything else?
Very good class today, Prabhuji. Lot of learnings.
Hmm. Very good class. Okay, sometimes we have to change the flavor of the class, right? So today was little too much of discussion we had. To
Content
not
wise, we
complete
are
the
behind.
chapter.
Yeah, content wise, we are behind, but I think a lot of learnings.
Okay. Fine, then we'll continue tomorrow. We'll complete this chapter tomorrow. Today it's already 5 now. We'll stop. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much,
Shubha
Prabhuji.